Attacks in Paris put Western nations on heightened security, and it also highlighted the ongoing fear over so-called lone wolf citizens who return home to stage terror attacks. And joining us from Boston to discuss this week's attacks is Max Abrahms. And Max is a Northeastern University professor and member of the independent think tank, the Council on Foreign Relations. And Max, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Sure.
We know the two suspects were actually known to law enforcement officials. How did they actually build the connections and launch these attacks without law enforcement catching on?
I mean, it's a really good question. There's a lot of pressure right now on Obama, for example, to close down Gitmo, as fast as possible, Guantanamo Bay, where the terrorist detainees are. But the reality is that terrorism recidivism rates are extraordinarily high. So once somebody has blood on their hands or is associated with a terrorist group, just as a statistical matter, when they're incarcerated and then released, the likelihood of their returning to terrorism is extraordinarily high. And indeed, most of the main terrorist groups that we're fighting against today are comprised of terrorist recidivists. And that's true within Islamic State, and it's true among these perpetrators as well. The Kouachi brothers were both, under surveillance. They both had problems with the law, and frankly, they should have been in prison.
Right. Max, the attacks also have renewed a debate on these government metadata collection programs like the one we have in the United States, the NSA program. How effective are they?
I don't think that they're all that effective, apparently, and the problem is that it's extraordinarily easy to commit a terrorist attack if somebody has the motive of doing so. And so it's impossible for authorities to keep an eye on everybody who has that capability. In the case of the Kouachi brothers, they were saying that in order to have 24/7 surveillance on either of these guys, they would have needed 20 cops per person. And so no government, no matter how dedicated, has the resources to police everybody. And in the case of France, it's particularly difficult because between 1 to even more than that, to about 2,000 at the maximum level of French citizens have either gone on to Iraq or Syria to link up with jihadist groups, Islamist groups like Islamic State, or at least tried to do so. And so that's probably the largest number within Europe. And so the difficulty is particularly clear for the French.
Thanks, Max. What about Highend Boumedienne? We know that she has been linked, the female woman who is at large and linked to the kosher market standoff and killing there. Let's talk about her training and the fact that she was believed to be back in Syria and then back in the West. How fearful are the French of the female jihadists?
Yeah, that's an interesting story. It's really just breaking today. The initial reports on her turned out to be inaccurate, apparently. She was presumed to be involved in the shooting against the cop. Then she was presumed to be involved in one of the hostage sieges. But it turns out that since January 2nd, she's actually been in Turkey, where she probably crossed into Syria.
All righty. Max Abrahms, thank you so much for joining us live from Boston. We appreciate your time.